Okay, so pretty much everyone knows the story of Noah's Ark, right? But the why? What actually led up to it? The events that kickstarted that whole massive project, they often get glossed over. So today, we're going to go straight to the source, into Genesis, to explain the dramatic prelude to the Great Flood.
So, what was the final straw? Was it just, people being generally bad? Well, the original text paints a way more specific and, frankly, dramatic picture. It all starts with a world that's kind of teetering on the edge.
Interestingly, the story doesn't begin with sin. It begins with population growth. The source text says, when men began to increase in number on the earth and daughters were born to them. So you have this expanding world, and it's this stage that's being set for some really incredible events.
And here's the first big event, this mysterious and profound union. The text says the sons of God, and who they are is a huge debate. Are they fallen angels, powerful kings? Who knows? They saw the beauty of human women, the daughters of men, and they married any of them they chose. This single act is the trigger for everything that follows.
So what's the result of these unions? Well, the text tells us about the Nephilim. They're described as heroes of old, men of renown. Now, their presence signifies way more than just a new generation. They kind of represent this blurring of the lines between the divine and the human, and it contributes to a world that is spinning out of its intended order.
And this leads to a huge divine reaction. The Lord declares a brand new limit for humanity. He says his spirit won't contend with man forever. It's not just a punishment, it's a fundamental change to the human condition itself. It even resets the human lifespan to 120 years.
After these events, the state of the world just goes downhill fast. The text describes a global condition. The earth wasn't just corrupt in spirit, it was physically filled with violence. We're not talking about a localized problem here. This was like a pandemic of chaos.
And the text uses some really absolute language to underscore just how bad things got. This isn't about people making a few mistakes here and there. It says every inclination of the thoughts of the human heart was only evil all the time. I mean, that is a description of total moral collapse.
And here's the crucial point, the emotional response. The text doesn't show us a cold, distant judge. Instead, it describes a creator who was grieved, whose heart was literally filled with pain over what his creation had turned into.
This pain, it leads to a devastating decision. The plan is a total reset, just wiping the slate completely clean. And notice the scope here. It's not just mankind. It includes almost every living thing on the land and in the sky.
Just when the story hits its absolute darkest point, the text throws in a single ray of hope. In the middle of all this universal corruption, one person, one individual stands apart. And his name, of course, is Noah.
So why Noah? What made him the exception? Well, while the rest of the world was corrupt and violent, the text defines Noah by three key things. He was righteous, he was blameless among his generation, and he walked with God. It's a complete and total contrast.
And because Noah was different, he doesn't get a judgment, he gets a mission. God speaks to him directly and gives him what has to be the most famous construction project in history, saying, "Make yourself an ark."
And this wasn't just some vague suggestion, like, hey, maybe build a boat. No. What God gives Noah is a precise, detailed blueprint. Every single aspect of the ark is specified. Nothing is left to chance. This is an engineering plan for the survival of life itself.
So just how big was this thing? The specs were staggering. The blueprint called for a length of 300 cubits, which in our terms is an astonishing 450 feet. That's a football field and a half long.
Its width was supposed to be 75 feet, so you can see it's this massive, stable platform that's really designed for capacity, not for speed.
And the height? 45 feet. That's roughly the same as a 4-story building. Can you imagine? This was an immense floating sanctuary, built on an absolutely monumental scale.
And the details didn't stop there. The blueprint specified the materials. It had to be durable cypress wood, and the method. It needed to be waterproofed with pitch, divided up into rooms, and structured with 3 separate decks. Every little detail was crucial for the mission ahead.
So you can basically distill Noah's incredible mission down into 3 massive tasks. First, build this gigantic, complex vessel. Second, gather a male and a female of every living creature to bring on board. And third, collect and store enough food to sustain literally everyone. No big deal, right?
But right in the middle of all these overwhelming commands, God makes a profound promise. The word covenant shows up. It means a solemn, binding agreement.
This is such a critical theme. It frames the whole event not just as destruction, but as the necessary setup for a new beginning and a renewed relationship.
And that really leaves us with this final thought. We've seen the why and the what straight from the source text. But just for a second, put yourself in Noah's shoes. With a divine blueprint in your hands and the fate of all life on your shoulders, what would it actually take, in faith, in labor, and just sheer perseverance, to build the ark? If you found this dive into the source material interesting and want more like it, let us know by liking and sharing. And of course, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss what we dig into next.